Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the latest Detroit Regional Chamber Teletown Hall. We are so glad you've taken your valuable time to join us yet again. Today, we are delighted to have one of the most important people in Detroit and Detroit region's business with us, Bill Emerson. Bill wears multiple hats with Bedrock and Rock. Currently, in addition to some of his other titles, he's serving as interim CEO of Bedrock, but he also wears the title of vice chair of the parent organization. Bill, thank you so much for taking your valuable time to join us today.
Sandy, I'm glad to be here. I mean, as you can see, I have to wear hats quite often, so multiple hats are okay for me. I'm all good with that.
Well, I'm getting the same hairline. I just hide it just a little bit better than you do, Bill. There's a reason why I'm facing forward to the camera, not backwards to the camera. Well, listen, obviously, you and your team, led by Dan, have had a tremendous impact over the last decade in such a positive way, not just in the city of Detroit, but across the region. And I definitely want to get to that. But what I really want to start out with first is that people have been delighted to see the progress that Dan Gilbert has made with his health journey. Can you give us an update in terms of how he's doing? And obviously, he's been busy lately.
Sure. So, I mean, I don't know if a lot of you got to see him on CNBC during the IPO process, but he was interviewed with Jay by Becky Quick, and I thought he looked great there. He's continuing to improve, continuing to work, not only physically on what he's improving on, but work. I mean, work, in the office. He's involved in all the big picture things that are going on at the organization. So just good progress and continuing to work hard as Dan always does.
Well, great. Well, be sure to give both Jennifer and Dan our very best. We're always thinking of them and just so grateful for them. So, Bill, let's start.
Thank you for asking about it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's just so important, and he's such a great guy. I mean, he's like the billionaire next door.
It's a fair point. It's true.
Yeah. Although I will perfectly admit I do not live next door to Dan, and I don't think I could. Bill, let's talk about let's go back about 5 months when COVID first came to visit us. You and your team members took some extraordinary actions to really reach out to your tenants, to your partners. Take us behind the scenes, Bill, and kind of what led Bedrock to move so quickly and so proactively to make sure that your tenants had a pathway to success, even in this incredibly uncertain world of COVID.
Sure. So, we just talked about Dan, right? It's amazing if you think about it. This August is 10 years since we've been downtown. And Dan's a small business person at heart. He's an entrepreneur at heart. And so small business has always been part of the strategy as it relates to what Bedrock has been doing ever since Dan bought the first building that he bought, the Madison building. And so, as we started to see what was happening in March, we realized that businesses were going to have to close. They were ordered to close. So how could we help? And, there was a lot of talk about what would the federal government do, and there's just a lot of vagueness around that. So we knew we had to do something immediately. So we gave rent abatement to our retail tenants, retail and restaurant tenants, for April, May, and for some of them in June, just because it was the right thing to do. They had to be able to pay their bills. We wanted to make sure that they could continue to focus on what could they do coming out of this, what would they do differently maybe for their business to be able to reopen. And as we got into May, we started to realize that, it wasn't looking great as far as coming back, but a little bit of loosening. And so how could we work with them? And so we offered up the opportunity to waive the base rent and just work off a percentage rent for those who were able to open, which allowed, that fixed piece of the puzzle to go away. And if they sold things, great. We got a little bit, they got a little bit. And so, that was the steps that we wanted to take there. We worked with the mayor and the city of Detroit to set up, the small business processes and being able to work with small businesses, which was very, very important. We allowed the tenants to be able to use their security deposit towards PPE and how would they reopen and some of the CDC guidelines that they were going to have to utilize to be able to get to that place. So As we thought about all the things that we could do, I guess the last piece of the puzzle, and not the only, but as we just put an open business directory on our website. Who's open? What are their hours? So that people had a place to be able to find out who is open, what's going on, how do we get down there, how do we spend some time, and so important things that we felt we just had to do as a steward of what we're doing in Detroit for the city of Detroit, for our tenants. And so that was very, very important for us to step up early and make sure that we did the right things.
So, Bill, I think one of the things that we've all realized is that this crisis is going to last a lot longer than we had initially thought. Talk to us about how Bedrock and, frankly, the Rock family of companies that are in the Bedrock buildings have come together to kind of help each other find new ways to create new pathways to customers and revenue during this crisis.
So obviously we've been working a lot with our tenants. We've been thinking a lot about this as well. We're trying to find ways to encourage people to come downtown. Businesses are open. About 70% of our retailers and restaurant tours are open right now, and so they're looking for foot traffic. So we're trying to find ways to be able to do that. We're working on a marketing campaign for folks to be able to know that we're open and what's going on downtown. And so, when you think about the foot traffic, I think what we're seeing right now, Sandy, is, you see people on the weekends. They're downtown, they're walking around, they're doing it safely, they're social distancing. I think we have some work to do during the week, if we could get some folks that were coming down. Obviously, one of the things I think we'll talk about is office workers and when are they coming back, and that's a big piece of the puzzle during the day, right, and during the week. So we still have to work on that, and we still have to figure that out. But I think anybody that's in the business community, anybody that's listening to this, who enjoys being downtown and enjoyed it before COVID, can enjoy it now. We just have to be smart about it. We have to be safe about it, and we encourage people to do that. And people have modified their business model. A lot of folks you can operate now online. You can do things that you couldn't do before. We've been working with retailers and restaurants for folks to be able to pick things up, right? How do you pick up delivery and do those type of things? Folks are utilizing the carryout process. So Detroit entrepreneurs they're ingenious people. They survive. They think about new and different ways, and with a little bit of support from the community and a little bit of support from the business community, they can continue to do business, and we're seeing some of that. So we still have work to do, and we still need people to come down. We're encouraging people to do that.
All right. Before I ask Bill the next question, let me, I neglected to tell our audience that if you have a question for Bill Emerson of Bedrock, there is a question box on the right-hand side of your screen. You can open that up and type in a question, and my colleague, Tammy Carnreich of the Chamber, will be monitoring that question box. Bill, you mentioned foot traffic. Does Bedrock have any data that kind of gives us an idea of how much foot traffic or just downtown activity has declined since the pandemic?
That's a great question, Sandy. If we have that data, I'm not aware of it, and that could very well be because I've been back at Bedrock for about 5 minutes. Okay, maybe 10. I know it's something actually we've been working diligently on to start tracking foot traffic and see what's going on, so that we can get some type of a feel in just a normal business sense. We're clearly not in a normal business sense right now, so I don't have the data for you on that, but I do know anecdotally for folks that are downtown, and we have essential workers that are downtown every day. We've got folks that are continuing to work in and around downtown from a safety and security perspective. So we hear that people are out and about on the weekends, but we don't have the data to support exactly what that looks like.
Sure. And what about the percentage of the businesses that are in Bedrock facilities? Do you have an idea of what percentage are at least open, at least partially?
Yeah, so as I just said earlier, I think we're looking at about 70% of them that are open. And I think we have a few more that are, looking into September and saying, before the weather changes, I want to be able to open up and take advantage of being outside, because obviously people are encouraged to be outside if they can be. But you've also got people that can be inside, and as we've talked to our office tenants and our retail tenants and our restaurateurs, we provided them our view of how you open safely. We've asked them to follow the Michigan directives, and people are doing that, right? Put something on your door that says, hey, you got to wear a mask. That's just the rules. and be proactive about that stuff. So people are doing that, and they're seeing results from that. So, it's just a matter. I think the more people realize that the people are open, the more that they get comfortable with being down there, the more that they will interact. And actually, I think what some of our retailers are telling us is we're seeing different people now. And when we see different people down here, they're popping in and they're actually spending more than they were spending on a per average ticket. So that's all good news. But still got work to do.
Absolutely. So has Bedrock provided access to PPE and signage that Bedrock tenants can use to help with the social distancing, help getting people masked up?
So we have provided all of our tenants, retailers, the information around what they need to do with that. And we have been, wherever we can, we're working to get people access to the PPP, the masks associated with those. We are not producing them ourselves, but we are trying to connect them wherever we can to people. And as I said, from a reopening perspective, we've allowed our tenants to use their security deposit towards things like that, where we would normally hang on to that money. So we're trying to help in that way if we can.
That's right. And, Bill, I'm just going to say, the chamber, we're one of your tenants in the One Woodward building. And you guys have done a fabulous job, certainly in that building. I haven't been in the other buildings, but just the signage, the processes, how you're handling the elevators and the capacity, everything's very clear, everything's very well marked. And as a tenant, we just couldn't be more pleased as to how you're handling it. We feel very safe when our essential workers need to be back in the office. So thank you very much for that.
We appreciate that, Sandy. And listen, at the end of the day, we have, as you know, a lot of team members working in our buildings. And so we want to make sure that we're crystal clear with what happens with them. And we're just trying to do the same thing in every other building that we're in with every other tenant, because it's important from a safety perspective.
Okay. Let's kind of transition to some big picture issues. Obviously, many of us have been working primarily from home for the last 5 months. I'm in my kitchen right now. It looks like you're home as well. What does this mean for kind of the future of office space, not just in Detroit, but frankly across the country?
So it's interesting. I think there's all kinds of theories. I think we're hearing from some that they think they'll need less because people want to work from home, and now that they've done it and they realize they can do it effectively and efficiently, they want to keep doing it. We're also hearing, though, from a lot of businesses that working from home presents its own challenges, right? Some roles can be more effective, but if you're an innovator, if you're a creator, it makes it really hard to create and collaborate in a virtual way. As we were talking earlier, I mean, it's also hard to build new relationships, right? I mean, you can talk to somebody, you can see them through a screen, but you can't get that same sense of being able to interact with them. And so I think we're actually hearing tenants saying that they may need more space than what they have because they want to be able to have their folks be safe in the office. They want them to be in the office. And in order to be able to do that and social distance, you might need more. So I think this is going to be an evolving thing that we see. I mean, I think it'll be a business by business choice of how many people actually work from home versus how many people come back into the office. But we know one thing, people are not coming back into the office until they know it's safe, until, whether in our case, whether the state says it's okay to do so. We are, once that happens, we've got people that want to come back down because they want to be in the office, but they also want to support Detroit and everything that's going on in Detroit. So it's important for us to get there, but we've got to get there the right way and we've got to do it safely. But that's what we're hearing, a variety of different, not only in our sphere, but I think you're hearing that around the country too.
Yeah, I think one of the things that our organization shares, obviously you're infinitely larger than we are, but is a real focus on the employee culture, the esprit de corps within the teams. And I just don't know how you build that in a video only environment. As you and I were talking off screen earlier, Bill, I mean, certainly, when two people know each other and have a relationship already set, like you and I do, we can have a video chat and it's fine. But if we didn't know each other, or if I was new to the Bedrock organization, it's hard to build that esprit de corps. It's hard to build that sense of community through a video screen. So I'm really hoping that there is a good combination of people may be allowed a little bit more flexibility to work from home, a few days a week or whenever's necessary. But I would hate to lose that kind of office-based esprit de corps that you can only build in person.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Sandy. And I mean, we've done a lot of polling of our team members, and it's an interesting mix. I mean, you've got folks that have raised their hands and they want to come back in the office absolutely as soon as they can. They just want to get out of their house, right? We've got others that love working from home, and then you've got the vast majority of people that are in the middle. I want to be able to do both depending upon what's going on, and flexibility will be important, and you will see more people working from home. But if you have a culture that is about people, I don't know, it makes it more difficult to be able to advance that culture when you can't interact with someone in a face-to-face way. And so I would tell you personally, our businesses, we've been communicating more, and I think there's been a benefit to that, right? But, we do culture matters to us. We do Isms Days. And so we're now trying to figure out how to do those virtually, which we think they'll be good, but will they have the same impact as if you're literally in the room? We're not sure. We're going to test that and see. But you got to make the best of what you got for the situation. And I don't think anybody who's got a culture is going to abandon that. It's just figuring out how you navigate in the new world till we can get to a place where we can kind of come together and embrace, even if it's like just a hey, how you doing? Like you're close an elbow. That's better than through the screen, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, if nothing else, we are all learning as individuals, as business people, what we're capable of. That we've been thrown a curveball, and it's almost amazing how well society and business has adapted safely and productively to this change.
Well, I'll give you one prime example. Hot Sam's, one of our tenants, are coming up on their centennial anniversary. Think about that, 100 years, right? And they just created, for the first time ever, their first e-commerce platform, and they're able to offer their cool wares online and virtually and from an e-commerce. I mean, that's the diversity and ingenuity that exists within the city of Detroit. When you have a 100-year-old business that can do something like that, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, let me turn it over to my colleague and friend, Tammy Carnwright. And Tammy, I understand we have a few questions from our chat room for Bill.
We do. Hello, Bill. Thank you again for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
So we've touched a lot on small business and retail, and a little bit on office space. And clearly, you have a lot of tenants in the office space in downtown Detroit. Have you yourself changed the design of your office space looking forward to working safely, or have you seen that with your tenants? And can you share more about that for others who may want to know how to do that?
Yeah, yes. The answer is yes, we have changed our space. Again, we don't have a whole lot of people in. I've been into the office and you can yell down the hallway and hear the echo, because you just can't have a lot of people back right now. But we have redesigned the space. Actually, Mike Malloy, our chief amazement officer, is probably the best guy to talk about that. He lives and breathes this every single day. But we've set it up so that the desks are 6 feet apart. We have systems checking people coming into the buildings and questionnaires that people answer, the typical protocols that you've got to have. But we have redesigned, and we will redesign those spaces. Because the new reality is, for a while, that in order to be able to have people in and have them in safely, you've got to do that. So we've always taken our spaces very, very seriously. We know how important the environment is to the culture of the organization, and so and in some aspects, folks have been asking for more collaborative space, and so this is a way to be able to do something that we had probably been doing anyway, and we just have another reason to do it. So. There's a lot of things, and if there's anybody that's interested in how to do it and what we're doing, feel free to have them ping me, and I can plug them in with Mike and the team, and they can talk with anybody about how that's working for us.
Okay, great. And that might be another great future discussion for us to share.
Yeah.
So again, Bedrock is known for best practices. How are you encouraging your many tenants to return to the office safely? Say it's okay, you don't have to rush back. There's more important issues at hand.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think first and foremost is, can you return, right? What are the government mandates? Can you return? And then when you can return, obviously doing it safely. And as I've said, we provided a return to work playbook to all of our tenants, commercial, retail, and restaurant. That's based off of what we've done. And obviously we plug them into the resources of the state to make sure that they understand what those things are, because at the end of the day, right, we are the building owner, they are the tenant, and they have to make a decision on whether they're going to come back and what that will look like. We want to make sure that they can do it safely. We want to encourage them to be able to do it as soon as the orders say that they can, so that they feel comfortable. Because at the end of the day, right, if people feel safe, they will come in. And the feedback we've gotten from our team members that have come in is that they do feel safe. And I think the most important thing as we come back to work is the folks who have been there, the essential workers who know how to operate with the restrictions, they feel comfortable. When new people come in and they're not yet used to those, we've got to be very diligent about making sure that they're doing the right things, distancing, masks where they're supposed to be in a public setting, right? So that everybody that's been there feels safe. And so any of that's going to be a little bit of an acclimation process as people come back to work. But we clearly want people to come back just as soon as they can, because it's important for the city, it's important for our tenants, and so the more we can have that happen, the better. And until we can do that, as I said before, come on downtown, it's okay.
Right. Well, speaking of best practices of Bedrock, one of the things that I've always been so impressed with is your safety and security that you have, not only on behalf of your company, but all of your tenant companies, and even downtown Detroit, all that you've done to help secure and support our public safety activity. With all that's happening right now in our public, certainly there's many issues that are disrupting our public realm, if you will, out there. How are you trying to help in that regard?
So that's a great question, and I think everyone's cognizant of the protests that are happening and the racial injustices that we've seen in the country, and we're keenly aware of those, and frankly, keenly plugged into those. This week, as a matter of fact, Jay Farner came out with an op-ed on our 6-point diversity and inclusion plan and the things that we're doing, and one of those is an active interaction with the police department. And Chuck Wilson, who runs security for us, is on the job all day, every day, making sure that he's plugged into what's going on with DPD. We put together a town hall with the chief and Chuck and our team members so that they could have a discussion with the chief about what he's seeing and what's going on, and how can we be supportive of the police department, but also push for the reforms that we think need to happen. And I think people just, they need to be cognizant about what's happening in some of the protests. Yeah. And I think, frankly, for the most part, the chief and the city have done a very nice job. I mean, we've had a couple of flare-ups, but for the most part, the protests have been peaceful. And I think the police department has done a good job of mitigating there. And, we've seen in other areas of the country where that hasn't been the case. So it's important for us because we're just, we're citizens of Detroit. We want to make sure Detroit is safe. We want to make sure our team members are safe. We want to make sure everybody's safe. And so we still plug in and interact with the police department on a daily basis.
Well, thank you for that. You really are a good citizen to help with that. And I've been able to watch it over the years and able to see some of your inside technology to do that. Let me ask you one final question, then I'll turn it back over to my colleague, Sandy. Have you yet determined a return to work office strategy for Bedrock employees?
So we have a strategy for sure. We have a plan. We know exactly what we want to do when we're able to execute it. And at this particular point in time, with the most recent order of if you can work from home, you must work from home. We were starting to lean. We had plans of coming back. First, it was in July, and then we moved it to Labor Day, and that's since been moved back out again because of the current order. So we're just kind of in a wait and see mode. But as soon as we're able to do it, we have a complete protocol, and we are set to be able to start bringing people back. And I think we'll do it in a gradual way because we want to learn from the bringing more and more people back. What works? What do we need to do perhaps differently? What education do we need to continue to have on an ongoing basis about the right ways to interact in the office? And so we'll see as this continues to develop, but we absolutely have a plan.
Well, it's been a pleasure asking questions and hearing your feedback. It's great to work with you, and I'll turn it back to Sandy.
Great.
Thank you, Tammy.
Great. Thank you, Tammy. Bill, just a couple closing questions. One thing that
Sure.
might surprise people is that the work of business development and business attraction has not stopped during this crisis. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the ongoing work of Bedrock is progressing in terms of, working with businesses perhaps from other areas of the country that are still interested in Detroit?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sandy. I mean, that will never stop for us. We're going to continue to talk about Detroit. We're going to continue to talk about the technology hub that exists in this city. We talk a lot about mobility, and the big three are plugged into that big time, because why wouldn't mobility happen here? It doesn't make sense. It's happening out on the West Coast, right? And so I think some of the other things that you're going to start seeing as a result, we talked about office space, we talked about real estate. I mean, I think companies will continue to see Detroit as an economically viable option versus some of the places that they might be today. And so there's still a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of upside to be able to bring businesses to the city of Detroit, and we're going to continue to focus on that like we always have.
Yeah, I think, some people have the impression that all business development has stopped because of the crisis, but that's not the case at all. You're out there busy doing things. The chamber is, the partnership is. We're not letting the crisis get in the way of attracting more businesses and more people to the Detroit region. Final question for you, Bill, and then we're going to let you go, and we're going to be right on time here, which is give us your forecast for how this pandemic is going to change the trajectory of the Detroit Renaissance that has been so strong and so internationally noteworthy over the last decade or so.
Well, I don't know. I think my crystal ball might be slightly broken these days with what's happening. But the way we think about this, Sandy, is that there's still a tremendous opportunity for the city of Detroit to continue to build and grow. Tremendous opportunity. We're continuing to work forward on our large projects. We saw the Hudson site has two 200-foot cranes. I mean, we're going to see a lot of progress there. We're continuing to move forward. We believe there's going to be a need for continued space in Detroit, and we believe Detroit will, as they always have. We've always found a way to come back no matter what's happened. You take a look at some of the businesses that have been around since the last financial crisis in 2007 and 2008, and how we've been able to fight through that. So, it's certainly a challenge. It's certainly a setback, but Dan likes to say Detroit is the intersection of muscle and brains, and clearly, I think that's going to be the case as we continue to move forward. And you heard Dan back in January at the Cranes event talk about Detroit and talk about our investment in Detroit and talk about doubling down on Detroit. And he means that, we mean that, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to make sure that Detroit continues to build and grow as it has over the last decade, and we're going to do it in a manner that's inclusive, and it takes into account downtown neighborhoods. I mean, we have, I would say we're maybe in the third inning, and we have a lot still to do, and we're looking forward to the future.
Great, perfect. Well, we're all excited about Detroit's future. Not only Detroit, but our nation's been through a lot over our 240 years.
Yeah.
We always come out stronger. So in a crisis, we never, we might get a little bit more pessimistic in the middle of a crisis, but if you look at our history, we always come out stronger. No doubt we're going to do that this time. Thank you so much, Bill, for joining us, taking your valuable time to share with Detroit Regional Chamber members. Thanks for the leadership that you and your team members at Bedrock have done in continuing to lead the renaissance of the Detroit Detroit region. So, Bill, thank you so much, and for everyone who joined us today for this special town hall with Bill Emerson, interim CEO of Bedrock. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day, everyone. Be well.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Bill. Take care.